This just in, we give you more information on this beloved actress, Lana, getting hit in the face with a glove. When more facts come in, as for now, this is Rihanna Brown on ABC News. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Miss Rihanna, for that very fascinating story. Tonight, we carry on our weekly documentary series on the great speeches of history here on ABC News. We go now live to our on-the-ground reporter, Stephen Easton. Stephen, how was it out there?
Thank you, Mr. Pepio. Last week, we discussed Winston Churchill's brave resistance against the Nazis during World War II. Tonight, we travel to Wilmington, Delaware, where we see beloved President Joe Biden's most famous speech in history. So let's rewind the clock 3 years and watch it happen in real time. I learned a lot. And I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area. I was one of the guards, and if you fell off, you landed on the cement. Now, Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. Now, you know, back in those days, things have changed. Well, see, back in those days, wear pomade in your area, you had to wear a bathing cap. Now, he was up on the board. I said, "Hey, Esther, so get off the board." Now, he came up to me, and he said, "What did you say to me?" And I said what I said to him. And he said, "I'll meet you outside." Now, there was a guy who worked there, Bill Rightmouse, only white guy mechanic. Not a joke. Now, I said to him, "What am I going to do?" And he says, "Come down here where the mechanic, the pool, the mechanics do mechanic things." And he took me out and he brought me a chain. You know, back in those pools, you have a big old chain running across the deep end and the shallow end. Took this chain and he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. And he said, "Now you walk out there with this chain. And you say, 'Hey, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.'" And I said, "You're kidding me." And he said, "No, and if you don't come back." And he was right. So I go out to my car, and there they are, all three of them. You know, back in those days, you take the razor, straight razor, you bang it on the curb, getting them rusty, bang it on the curb, getting them rusty, put them in a rain barrel. Well, now that they're out there by my car, and I say, first off, when I say get off the board, you get off the board. But I must apologize for calling you what I called you, and I apologized. Now, I didn't know that apology was going to work, and he said, "You apologize?" And I said, "Well, I apologize." And he closed that straight razor, and my heart began to beat again. Here we got a small peek into the childhood of Joe Biden and get to see some of his biggest leadership characteristics develop, such as courage, determination, and the joy in telling others what to do. This speech led to a resounding victory in the 2020 election, which was totally legitimate and in no way fraudulent, whose results just so happened to come in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep. This is Stephen Easton reporting, Wilmington, Delaware, ABC News. Back to you in the studio.
Okay. Well, next up after the break, vegan man Jake Fisher will be visiting us on the program where he discusses his new book, It's Just Healthier, where he makes the case for veganism while being incapable of lifting 5 pounds.